Merlinsports.
Hey everyone, this is Fenomena from Merlinsports, and today we're going to preview the NFC WILDCARD. With us again is our resident NFL expert, DDawg. How are you doing, sir?
Yo, what's going on? I'm good. I'm good.
That's good to hear. And the other show we previewed our AFC WILDCARD, so now we're gonna step on over to the NFC. We have 3 good matchups this WILDCARD weekend. And let's get to them. We're going to start with the first one that is being played, which is Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And this has the Green Bay Packers heading to the road in the city of brotherly love, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles are sitting at 4.5-point favorites. So how do you see this game shaping up, and what's your analysis, and what's the outcome? What's your outcome?
Well, this is a game of this is a rematch of Week 1, right? The game in Brazil, and I like Philadelphia. It's going to be a very tight game. Green Bay, they last year they came into the playoffs red hot. Jordan Love had gotten really hot and it kind of got his feet wet and settled into thing. But the Green Bay hasn't been as good as they were heading into the playoffs like they were last year. And Philly's had a good overall year. We talked about it in the AFC, the MVP and my MVP. Like, I know no one's talking about him, but I think he's the MVP in the NFL this year, and he should get a lot of recognition, but he's not going to. Is Saquon Barkley, and I think he's going to be the difference in this game. Both teams have solid defenses. Their offenses are explosive. Last year, the Packers played the Dallas Cowboys and they just walked all over Dallas. But they're not playing as well as they did last year, and I think that's going to be critical against a team like Philadelphia, who's for the most part has been chasing the Detroit Lions all year for that top spot, like Minnesota, and I like the Eagles, but I think it's gonna be a high scoring. It's a Philadelphia by 4. I think it's whoever gets that has the ball last. I'll say Philadelphia has the ball last. I think they win by 3, and so I don't think they cover the 4-point spread. But I like Philadelphia to win this game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I mean, this should be a pretty good matchup. I also like Philadelphia. I just think they're a more complete team. One thing that worries me, and it's with both teams, is that we haven't heard many updates on Jalen Hurts' injury on the Philly side. He's missed, I think, the last 3 games with a concussion. He's listed as questionable, although, like if you this is the game to play if they wanted him to rest during the regular season. But he's not, I guess as we get closer to Sunday, you'll hear the official word that he's active, but he's not been declared active yet. So that's a little bit concerning. Their backup quarterback, Kenny Pickett, he's also questionable with a rib injury. So he hasn't been cleared to play. So if there's something that they're not telling us, and this gets deeper into the week, that would be a concern. So right now, I'd say it's a light level of concern, but I'd keep my eye on the quarterback situation for Philly before fully committing to Philly. On the Green Bay side, Jordan Love left the game early with an elbow, but looks like he's fine. And Matt LaFleur said that he could have went back in the game if they needed him, so I think he's okay. But they lost Christian Watson, their wide receiver. He tore his ACL. He's been ruled out, so he's shut down. He's shut down for the remainder of the season. So that's an unfortunate loss in the last game of the season. So I think you have to take health as a consideration into this. But having said that, I think Philly with Saquon Barkley kind of hitting on all cylinders. They rested him as well, which prevented him from breaking the record, but probably the right thing to do for the team to have him, because they weren't going to get a bye with the top seed, so that kind of acted as rest for Saquon, and he's went full speed this entire season, right? And he's had issues. He had some issues with the Giants on playing in all the games, and he's had the injury bug a couple times. So probably the right decision to make to shut him down. So he should be fresh, and I think that's going to be the difference, right? But again, I think Philly's got the edge on defense. So they're just more well-rounded, even with getting a little bit bit by the injury bug. They should still pull this off. And Green Bay, they kind of have not looked as good the last couple of games heading into the postseason. So I don't know if that'll carry over, but I just think that it's a tough matchup for them. So I have Philly winning this. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I like them to cover the spread for 4.5. So I think they might be win by a touchdown. So that's who I'm picking. So anyways, let's go to this would be the Sunday night game. And this has the Washington Commanders heading into Tampa to play the Tampa Bay Bucks. Bucks are favored by 3. And how do you see this game playing out?
I like Washington in this game. I think Jaden Daniels has had a great year. He's going to be the Rookie of the Year. If he's not, then there's been some money flying somewhere else. I'm sorry. He's been the best rookie all season. He started from day one. He's carried on his Heisman Trophy award into the NFL. Has been looking phenomenal. Yeah, Washington defense is suspect, but they've been better the last few weeks, and Tampa's just so inconsistent, right? Last year they actually gave Detroit everything they could handle before losing in the playoff round, but this year they've been up and down all season. They've struggled to beat teams and put away teams they should win. Case in point, they lost to Dallas on a Monday night, if I was not mistaken, or a Sunday night game, like a primetime game. They have not been. They haven't been dominant at all this season. I know they've had a lot of injuries with their receiving core and stuff like that, but Washington's they're fresh. They're a fresh team, and they've had a good year, and they're a surprising team in their division in the NFC East. I think most of us picked Dallas and Philadelphia to be the top two teams, and they took their mantle from Dallas. But this is their first time in terms of coming on. They've been in a rebuilding mode for a few years, so I like the Commanders to pull the upset over the Bucks. It's a 3-point spread, what I have here, and Tampa's just been so inconsistent all year. They've had some injuries in the defensive side of the football too, so. I like the Commanders to pull a minor upset, because I think these are two evenly matched teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at a close game as well. I think the two teams are close. I think Jaden Daniels is more dynamic at quarterback. Although Baker Mayfield had a really strong season, like a comeback season for him. And yeah, it came down to the wire and they pulled it out against New Orleans. But they had some close games, down the stretch. They had a weak division, so they're bit weaker strength of schedule. Washington definitely, played Philly a couple of times. So they definitely had a stronger division, just by the fact that Philly was there. Man, I don't know. I'm on the fence about this game because I like to back the Commanders, just because I like their. I think they're funner to watch, and it's a good storyline. Jaden Daniels and the turnaround that's occurred in Washington. But I just think I just think Tampa Bay might pull this one out. Washington's won 5 in a row to propel themselves into the playoffs. And Tampa Bay actually had to go on a bit of a heater as well to snatch the division from Atlanta. So Tampa Bay is 6-1 in their last 7 games. So, both teams are going in pretty hot. And I just think the fact that Tampa Bay's at home, that they should be able to pull it out. And the underrated running back Bucky Irving, he's had a great year. So it's not just some receivers that Baker Mayfield's had to throw to. Mike Evans again having a 1,000-yard receiving season. I think he ties Jerry Rice for most consecutive 1,000-yard. Most consecutive seasons with 1,000 yards receiving. So I think I'd like Tampa Bay to win a close one. Probably will come down to a field goal. So I just give them the edge just for the fact that they're at home. And this is where inexperience may show, and where we might see some inexperience being under the bright lights for Jaden Daniels. So that's my take on it. How about we go into now this is our final wildcard game of the weekend, and it's a great matchup. So much so that it's actually a pickup. And this takes the Minnesota Vikings traveling to LA and SoFi Stadium and playing the LA Rams. This is a Monday nighter, and like I said, it's a pick'em. So, and I believe that Minnesota, this is the best record of a wild card team. I think that's ever been since they've had the wild card. 14-3 wild card team. It's pretty crazy.
I mean that wins other divisions in the NFL, right?
Oh yeah, that wins every single division except that one. Oh, except maybe Kansas City's division.
AFC West. It's interesting because you look at there's 3 teams from the NFC North and 3 teams from the AFC West, and the top 2 teams are who won the divisions in those two divisions in each conference. They had like incredible records. Kansas City, like both teams are 15-2, right? So this is an interesting game. I actually have the spread as a 1.5, but for Minnesota. But I like the Rams. I like the Rams in a minor upset. I know it's hard to say that the home team is upsetting the road team, but and it's got to be really crappy for Minnesota to have such a great year and have to go and be a wild card team. But the Rams kind of gave them a lot of problems the last time they went to SoFi to play, and I think that those problems are going to exist again. The Rams have been playing some really good football recently themselves. They got themselves back into it. They struggled to start the season, but they've sort of rebounded mid-year and have been Um, they've been pretty strong over the second half of the season. Obviously, getting healthier on both offense and defense. Their defense is young and up and coming. Um, don't have a lot of big names. They don't have they don't have the Donaldsons anymore. But they just have rebuilt themselves pretty well, uh, right? And Kieran Williams, the running back, is a nice safety valve for Matthew Stafford. And I think even though Sam Darnold's had a phenomenal year, right, and he's kind of found a home in Minnesota after playing in San Francisco last year and learning the ropes under Kyle Shanahan. But the 14-3 record is gonna be their celebratory thing for the season. I think the Rams are gonna pull an upset here, and take them down. Wow. Which will set up a very interesting matchup the following week. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, what do you know? I actually like the Rams to pull the upset as well, and I think look at the contrast in styles in that where the Rams could have dressed their starters and won the last game against Seattle to avoid this matchup with Minnesota and have a more favorable matchup against Tampa Bay, I think. But Sean McVay decided that, hey, we're going to rest our starters, and it doesn't matter who we play, we're going to be ready. And whereas we touched in our AFC preview that Harbaugh with the Los Angeles Chargers, he dressed his starters to get the more favorable matchup. So just like a little contrast in style, and I like what the Rams did. And it's almost like we saw a lot of other teams rest their starters. And it's like the Rams to me used Week 18 as their bye week, as like a first round bye by not dressing their starter. So they should be fresh. All the injury problems that they had earlier in the season, when they've been at full, when they've had all the tools on offense, they've been formidable when they've hit on all cylinders. Sean McVay, his track record of winning the Super Bowl a few years back, so that he's going to be ready. And then also they beat an elite team in Buffalo back on December the 8th, and they put up 44 points against Buffalo. And so they can score, they can put up those big points. What I think also is, I think Minnesota was so got up so much for that Detroit game, to kind of that battle for the number one seed, that they might be a little deflated. I think that that game took a lot out of them, and I think Detroit, and also Detroit kind of put it out there now, like this is a way that you can slow down the Vikings and you could beat the Vikings. They just, on defense, they just went after Sam Darnold. They said they don't care, they'll because the Vikings, so many weapons, wide receiver. They said, okay, we'll take our chances. We'll play man. And we're going to blitz. We're going to just blitz Sam Darnold. And he struggled. He struggled against the Detroit defense. So I wonder if Sean McVay, being a smart coach that he is, all the coaches see that. They all have film. I wonder if he can replicate some of that and try to slow down that powerful Vikings offense. I just think that psychologically that took a lot out of Minnesota, and some of that may linger. And I think McVay may seize on that, and then also how he rested his star players. And I think this is a recipe for an upset for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a couple other things that we should touch on is that Kevin O'Connell is a McVay disciple, right? So they kind of have similar styles in terms of their offensive creativity and stuff. And then Brian Flores is a defensive coordinator. He likes to never tell you what he's doing, and that works against, I'd say, younger quarterbacks. But you got Matthew Stafford, he's been around forever, and he's won a Super Bowl. But he's had to carry the torch for Detroit for years by himself. I mean, he did have Megatron, but he's played in fairly big games himself and has been around for a long time, so that helps him. But we got the upset. We both agree on this upset, and I should point out that when we previewed the season, you and I both picked the Rams to win the division, and they won the division, right? The preseason hype was San Francisco coming off that almost Super Bowl, and me and you both picked the Rams. So I think the Rams win this one, and it sets up an interesting match the next week, which is the Lions. Matthew Stafford goes home to Detroit to play the Lions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get through Wild Card Weekend, because lots of things could happen. But anyways, thanks for breaking down the NFC, and we'll see you next week for the divisional playoffs.
Thank you. No problem.